Hi, I'm Larry Nespoli with the New Jersey Council of County Colleges. At New Jersey's community colleges, we believe that our students, as well as all citizens, need to be informed about the important issues facing higher education. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by
ShopRite Supermarkets,
New Jersey Council of County Colleges, the Give Something Back Foundation, Choose New Jersey. Our mission is attracting companies to the Garden State.
Century 21 Construction,
Cone Resnick, Accounting, Tax, and Advisory, where forward thinking creates results.
and by the New Jersey Office of the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor.
Promotional support provided by NJ.com. Small news, big news, true Jersey. And by NJ Biz. All business, all New Jersey.
This is One-on-One. I'm an equal American just like you are.
The jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday.
Look at this. You got this?
Here it is, man. Look at that.
Life without dance is boring.
When you first heard that they were doing Charlie Rose and Gayle King, didn't you go, what?
Do you enjoy talking politics?
No.
People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention.
Our culture, I don't think, has ever been tested the way it's being tested right now.
Such a good question. High five.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato here. More importantly, I have two very special guests to talk about scouting and why it's so special. First, our good friend, back by popular demand, looking better than ever, Bart Oates, former NFL player and star. How many Super Bowl rings?
3.
Yeah, okay, who's counting? And also a scouting volunteer, and he's joined by his good friend, Matthew Scala, who's 16 years of age. Just told me he's been in scouting since he was 6 years of age.
Yes, I have.
How great is this? And I want to thank our friends over at Wake Firm for talking to us about scouting and why this is so special. I got to ask you something. You were a scout as a kid?
I was, yeah. I grew up as a scout. Yeah.
And now you're a volunteer?
Been a volunteer for years.
Because?
Been a scoutmaster, because it's an awesome organization. It helps young men kind of learn leadership skills, self-confidence, a lot of fun, camping, just, connecting with nature. It just tremendous benefits.
So for 10 years you've been in this?
10 years.
What would you say the number one benefit you've taken from your scouting experience has been?
I'd have to say friendships, because the boys you meet in scouting are the boys that you're going to hang out with for years to come. I know most of my friends are from scouting. I hang out with them on the weekends. We go places. We talk on the phone all the time. It's just a really great way to meet new people.
It's interesting. You said you talk on the phone. Now, do you actually talk on a phone?
Well, we text.
Okay.
We text. We have a big group chat.
Do you really?
It's very active. Everyone's on. Oh, how was everyone's day? Sending everyone funny messages or something.
But it's a scout thing.
Oh, it's a scout thing. It's all scouts.
That's great.
Scout jokes and stuff. Scout jokes.
You didn't have that? We didn't have that back in the day?
Yeah, ours was like smoke.
So I got to ask you something. When it comes to the leadership thing, you and I are fascinated by leadership. We talk about it all the time. Mm-hmm. You were one of the great leaders, not just a talented football player, but a leader in the NFL. You continue to be today as you're concerned about the safety of football players. Talk about the leadership component of scouting.
But it's built in. The leadership is built in. It's designed to help young men that don't have those type of skills to learn them.
How so? Give us an example.
Just peer. This scouting is really to be done right, run by the young men themselves, and the adults just guide. So it's all set. The hierarchy. There's leadership at scouts, and as they develop and as they progress in rank, then they become leaders, and they help the young. They help those younger boys that have just gotten in, the new ones. And it's that process. And so in 18, they move on, they go to college, and then hopefully they come back later and become leaders themselves, but understanding the real purpose of scouting is take these take boys and develop them into men.
As you listen to Bart talk about this, talk about the leadership piece for you.
Right, well, the leadership's not only in scouts, but it's also, I feel, in school for me, as a lot of people they like to do. They say, oh, well, let's wait till the last day to do the group project. But I'm the one person that's like, guys, let's just do it now, get it over with. I'm always the first one to volunteer for projects, presentations. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. I volunteer for all these. And even in scouts, I hold the rank of assistant senior patrol leader, which is kind of like I help run the troop.
So, I mean, being a leadership, that's a really big part of it. And, like, you go to programs. I've been to a program, it's called National Youth Leadership Training, or NYLT, where for a week long, this was in Rockaway, New Jersey, Camp Winnebago, where we camped out, and we just did leadership activities, and they taught us skills that you're not going to learn anywhere else. You're not going to learn in school. It's just things in Scouts that aren't taught.
What kind of reaction do you get from the other kids in school who are not involved in Scouting?
I get made fun of occasionally.
Do you care?
Not at all.
Not at all?
Not at all.
So it also builds self-confidence.
Exactly.
Self-esteem.
I'll walk
like you
around.
really don't care. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
That's okay. I walk around in the uniform. Like, if I come from a Scout meeting, I'll go into ShopRite. Everyone looks at me. I'm like, okay. People look like they're ready to salute me.
You're wearing your sash, too?
I am. My merit badge
badge?
sash. Yes.
Those badges mean something, right?
Yes. You work for these. They all have a different topic. Like, some of them, this one's first aid. I have chest, fishing. All just, it's everything you can think of. And you find a counselor, someone who's certified in teaching that topic, and you work with them. There's certain requirements for the certain badges.
They don't just give them to you.
Oh, no.
See, I'm a personal fitness merit counselor.
No kidding. and with the rest of us, you are too, but that's a whole nother story.
So for scouting, so I'm certified, and so the young men will come to me, the Boy Scouts, and then I'll put them on a program to help them achieve their personal fitness merit badge.
And so what happens? Do you push them to be the best they can be in terms of their physical fitness?
Well, so there's requirements. So it's education, learning about nutrition, learning about diseases and healthy eating habits, et cetera, et cetera. And there's exercise involved. They have to go through a 12-week program that they develop, and they monitor it and follow along. We get what their progress is, and so I'll meet with them periodically during that. And as long as they achieve each of the requirements, then they're eligible to get their personal fitness merit badge.
A couple things here. Where's the fun?
Everywhere. Like camping, there's fun doing these merit badges. Well, some more than others. Like, there's one environmental science that was probably the most boring merit badge I've ever done, because you sat there and learned about recycling.
Give me a fun one, though.
Fishing. That might be fun for me. I love to fish.
You love to fish.
There's water skiing.
There's water skiing.
Water sports. I have wilderness survival. That's something you don't learn in school.
So it was fun. There's a big part of it that's fun. Plus of the camaraderie is fun.
Right.
Skills, orienteering, teaching young men out in the wilderness, how to navigate, how to find places, what to look for with compasses, without compasses. I mean, there's survival skills.
For you, though, Bart, you and I talk about parenting a lot, too. Bart and I have a lot of mutual friends, and we
Nick
share.
Greco being one of them.
Yes, who's actually our legal counsel at the Caucus Educational Corporation. We've also talked about parenting. In many ways, are you somewhat of a parent figure for certain kids, or father figure for certain kids who may not have a father figure in the home? Am I making too much of that?
No. There are those situations, and it's also, listen, even with parents in the home,
sure,
sometimes an adult leader who they look up to or they respect can communicate differently than a parent can, and so there's a support system there.
Does it matter? It's interesting as a setup. I don't know what the answer is going to be, because Bart, in all seriousness, is such an accomplished athlete and was a superstar playing football with the Super Bowl rings and the whole bit, and you're seeing him right there in that picture, just a bit heavier and much healthier today. Is it even more impressive?
I mean, I guess so, because he's.
That's a no.
He's not my leader. So
he's a 49ers fan.
Right.
He had both covered, by the way. He had both covered. But so you're not that aware of that?
No, I really because I know the leaders in our troop, they're just volunteer dads, and I look up to them just as much as I look up to big athletes or my other role models.
So you don't play the NFL card?
No, there's no NFL merit badges.
Last thing, for those in the time we have left, for kids out there who say, I don't know if scouting's for me, but they're on the fence, could be, you say.
Just do it. Just like Nike, just do it. Because once you do it, you're going to understand how great it is, and you're just going to keep going.
And Bart, for those who wonder if they could volunteer and make a difference, you say.
Just do it.
The biggest benefit.
Listen, it's a way of paying forward. You know, I mean, as corny as that may sound.
Not at all.
It's an opportunity to take a young man who, you know, may or may not be confident, may or may not feel comfortable with who he is, but give him some direction. Just point him. You just guide. You're not forcing them, right? You're just on the side, just watching. You give them the right skills. You put them with the right peer group, and most of these kids will flourish.
Yeah, good stuff. Bart, Matt, we wish you nothing but the best. We have a feeling you'll be back with us, telling us about some of the success you've had as an adult.
Thank you.
As always, you have an open invitation. Thanks, Bart.
Thanks, Steve.
Stay here, guys. We'll be right back right after this.
To watch more one-on-one with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
We're now joined by Dr. Liana Spano, who is a cardiologist with the Summit Medical Group. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
The field of cardiology changed dramatically in the last 10 years.
Absolutely.
How so?
Yeah. Well, I think that cardiology in general has one of the quickest paces when it comes to changing and knowledge and information. Cardiology is a field that provides a lot of scientific data. There's a lot of clinical trials that go through cardiology, and we've learned a lot about cholesterol and lipids in the last 10 years. Statins have been developed in the last 10, 15 years. Stents over the last 20, 30 years. So it's just really quickly changing, and there's a lot to offer in cardiology now that there wasn't many years ago.
But still, heart disease, the #1 killer of women.
Yes. Yes.
Always the case, or more recent, or what?
Always the case. What happens is, so heart disease is the #1 killer in general. So of all comers, men, women, black, white, Hispanic. People don't realize that heart disease is such a it's such a large amount of people that are affected, and it is the #1 cause of death in this country.
The #1 cause of death across the board, men and women.
Men, women, all races.
So let me play devil's advocate here. I was just saying to you that in our family there's a history.
Yeah.
Right. My grandfather, whom I never knew, passed at a very young age, at the age of 44. My father's brother passed at a very young age. My dad's had issues. But I've always said to myself, because I exercise, because I don't smoke, blah, 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 blah. I've convinced myself
that you're safe.
Yes.
Yeah. So unfortunately,
tell me
I wish I could say that was always the truth. And in general, we like to, regardless of your risk factors, we always strive to achieve healthy lifestyle and do all the right things, because you'd be much worse off if you didn't. But there are some people who are at higher risk than others, and there's primary prevention is the key. So what it comes down to is preventing disease before you become affected, and that's called primary prevention. So I try to see most of my patients before there's an event. Unfortunately, we meet a lot of people after they've been sent to the cardiologist because they've had an event.
So they won't go, many won't go until something has happened.
Many, yes.
But the smarter thing to do is to get ahead of it.
Right, either an internist or your family doctor or a cardiologist, so that you know what your risk factors are, and risk factors that you wouldn't even had
break them down.
Known before. So when I talk to patients, I discuss modifiable and non-modifiable risk factors. Modifiable being the things you can change. So you can't change your age, you can't change your sex, you can't change your postmenopausal, premenopausal status. Family history, it is what it is, you got your genes. The things you can change: controlling diabetes or avoiding diabetes. Smoking, #1 preventable risk factor.
Number one?
Absolutely. Smoking is a huge risk factor. High blood pressure, controlling high blood pressure. Weight loss, maintaining a healthy weight. Exercising more than 30 minutes a day most days of the week. Consuming a heart-healthy diet. So diet high in fruits, vegetables, phytonutrients, healthy fats, omega-3s, and things like that. So those are the risk factors that you need to try to avoid or try to promote to avoid heart disease.
Doctor, when you see a patient that is very heavy and either bordering on obese or obese, how direct are you? Because I'm a student of communication. I'm fascinated by how candid people are or are not in their communication in every field, but particularly in medicine and health. Because I'm like, what are you holding back?
Yeah.
How candid are you with the correlation between that person's weight and the pressure, I believe anecdotally as a layperson,
Right.
is putting on that person's heart?
I think it's my responsibility to be as candid as possible. It's the office where I'm in a room with a patient is a private interaction between myself and that patient, and it's my responsibility to give that patient the most information. So I am very, very honest with them. And to be honest, it takes it out of my hands, being that the BMI, the body mass index, is a clear-cut number that puts you into a category of overweight, obese.
Explain it to people in simple terms.
Sure. So the body mass index takes your weight and your height, puts it into a calculator and says your BMI is, say, 30.
Yes.
Anything over 25 is considered overweight. 25 to 30, overweight. Anything over 30 puts you in the obese category, and anything over 40 is morbidly obese. So therefore, it puts it into a calculator, it gives me a diagnosis, and obesity is a diagnosis. So it allows me to be very concrete and very straightforward with this patient and say, listen, you are obese, and we need to work on that. Unfortunately, there's obviously a little bit of an art to the
communication.
Right, exactly, the communication and the giving the information. But it's very important that the patient understands that they're at risk because of that weight. And I work with them to develop a plan on how to reduce the weight, including heart-healthy diet and exercise, and if needed, bariatric surgery.
It's interesting. Family members matter in this too.
Absolutely.
Do you talk to the whole family?
Sometimes. It depends on the person and the issue.
I'm often fascinated by the idea that heart health for women is, I'm not going to say misunderstood, but not talked about a lot. Is that getting better?
It's definitely getting better. Over the last few years, the campaigns that have developed, the Red Dress campaign, the Heart Truth campaign,
right.
They've increased awareness amongst women, but still I think women are more concerned or scared of breast cancer than they are of their risk of heart disease. And to be honest, heart disease is a much more prevalent disease in women.
So let me ask you, symptoms of a real problem with your heart for a man or a woman, are they different?
They tend to be different. Women tend to have more atypical symptoms. Atypical meaning not the classic crushing chest pain that men typically have. But I've had many men who come with atypical symptoms. Reflux, I think it's indigestion, I'm not entirely sure, take a Tums, it kind of goes away. So they do cross over. But in general, women do get a little bit more atypical, meaning shortness of breath, sometimes a jaw pain or an arm pain, sometimes indigestion or abdominal pain, back pain. So it can vary.
But being aware of those symptoms, being aware of your risk factors, critically important.
Absolutely. So being aware of your risk factors and not ignoring the symptoms.
Don't say, oh, it's probably indigestion.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the truth. A lot of us would like to think that we don't have disease, and I would tell you that most people who come into the office with chest pain, it winds up being nothing.
But if not?
But the few people that do have real symptoms, we wind up making a real difference. And so it's really important to not ignore your symptoms.
Dr. Liana Spano,
yes.
Originally from Staten Island, now a cardiologist with the Summit Medical Group. I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We are pleased to welcome Dr. Donna Stankiewicz, who is Associate Dean, Nurse Education and Sciences at Passaic County Community College. Good to see you, Doctor.
Thank you for having me.
You were just telling me that you've been involved in nursing for 39 years, which
Yes.
is fascinating because I'm curious when you knew you wanted to go into nursing.
I think as a child I had the interest in science and in health, but I didn't know at that time it would be nursing. You know, I thought about being a doctor, but as I got older and I realized that it is the nurse who spends all the time with the patients, so then I made my decision to be a nurse.
Nurse education
Yes.
is different from the hands-on nursing? Being a nurse education itself, I want to be clear on something. How has nurse education or nursing education changed in the last 10, 15 years?
Well, nursing education has to keep up with the practice of nursing because we are preparing nurses. We're preparing the next generation of nurses.
But what I meant was actually being a nurse versus being a nurse.
Being an educator?
Yes. Is it a different field?
It is a different field in this. It's two professions in one because you are still a nurse, all right?
Always
so I am a nurse. I'm always a nurse.
Right.
And I lead a nursing program that prepares new nurses. So you have to be an educator, and so you have that profession as well as the nursing profession.
Now, the profession itself.
Yes.
How much has the Affordable Care Act, we don't know yet because it's still playing out, how much do you believe it has affected and changed, evolved, if you will, the profession of nursing?
Well, I think we're continuing to see how that will play out, but in a number of ways. Economically, of course, it changes the profession of nursing by the way hospitals are reimbursed and what your workplace will look like and the economics of healthcare. And so, of course, economics of healthcare affect nursing practice as well. But it also has a role in increasing the areas that we will see nurse practice in or changing some of the areas that nurses will practice in. So a lot of healthcare is moving out of the hospital. And
what do you mean by that?
Patients don't stay in the hospital as long as they used to. Patients aren't admitted to the hospital unless they are, quite sicker than they used to be.
By design?
By design, but because we can care for them in other ways. And, a lot of the research shows that patients do better if they're not admitted to the hospital because sometimes you catch other things when you're in the hospital. So, and patients often do better in their home setting. So we get patients out of the hospital sooner. We move them to other facilities, such as subacute facilities, where they can still get treatment and some rehabilitation and then get moved home if that's where they're to go, and then to try to provide as much within the home so that the patients can be cared for in their own setting.
Doctor, talk to us about Passaic's nursing initiative. Describe it. What does it look like, and what kind of nurses are you producing?
Well, we have an associate degree program, and we produce excellent nurses. We have excellent outcomes. We are preparing nurses at the associate degree level to be bedside caregivers. Okay, so they are entering practice and primarily working in an acute care setting or a subacute care setting. We do have a proposal out to the state now to be able to offer an RN to BSN completion program, which
Explain
means
that to people.
So when the students graduate, they sit for their licensure exam at the completion of our program to become RNs.
Registered nurses.
Registered nurses. So once they become a registered nurse, they can go into practice. Practice is more and more requiring that students have their bachelor's degree in nursing. Some hospitals don't hire without that now. So we want to be able to offer that degree to our students so that once they complete our program, they can then go on and complete the bachelor's degree, but be working as a registered nurse while they do that. So that, the preparation for nurses, whether they attend a 4-year program initially or our program initially, they're going to sit for the same licensure exam. That's what makes them able to practice nursing. The courses that are not offered in an associate degree program would be things like nursing leadership, nursing research, community health or population health. And then, of course, the rest of the liberal arts that are required as a bachelor's.
Let me ask you this. You were saying before that when you got into nursing, it struck you that nurses are closer to patients, and even though doctors play an incredibly important role.
Right.
From your perspective, even though nursing continues to change, evolve, as the healthcare world around us evolves dramatically, what continue to be the most rewarding aspects of the nursing profession?
The interaction with the patient and their families.
That doesn't change.
That doesn't change, and probably that is some frustration that practicing nurses feel now is because of the increase in technology and things like that. It does sometimes pull them further away from the patient or because of patient loads, but you always want to focus on patient-centered care. The patient drives their care. It's about what that patient values, what kind of care how they want their care to proceed. And so the patient and family have to be central. And for any nurse, that is the most rewarding aspect.
You still passionate about this field?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because it is a job that you can say every single day, I've made a difference in someone's life. Regardless of, you can be handing somebody a glass of water because they can't reach it for themselves, or, intervening when their condition changes.
Doctor, thank you on behalf of all of us who appreciate what nurses do every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by
ShopRite Supermarkets,
New Jersey Council of County Colleges, the Give Something Back Foundation, Choose New Jersey, Century 21 Construction, Cone Resnick,
and by the New Jersey Office of the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor.
Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
Hi, I'm Bob Carr. The Give Something Back Foundation believes all students should have access to a quality education without absorbing crushing debt, yet 2/3 of recent college graduates owe $35,000 or more for their education. This debt can negatively impact a person's life choices, like what jobs to take, when to buy a home, get married, or even have children. We provide free college tuition fees, room and board for students who can't afford it to give them the opportunity to succeed in life.